Emma stepped through the heavy glass doors of the city's most prestigious financial institution. Her modest floral dress and worn leather sandals clicking softly against the polished marble floor. She felt out of place amidst the soaring ceilings, gold leaf accents, and the hushed, reverent atmosphere that usually accompanied extreme wealth. In her hand, she clutched a simple folder, containing the documents Michael had forgotten on the breakfast table, papers he desperately needed for his high-stakes meeting with the board of directors. The air inside the lobby was cool and smelled of expensive mahogany and lilies. As Emma approached the mahogany desk of the Platinum Member Services, two women in razor-sharp business suits paused their conversation. One, a tall woman with platinum blonde hair, tucked into a tight bun, looked Emma up and down, her gaze lingering on Emma's unvarnished fingernails and the fraying strap of her bag. A flicker of amusement crossed her face as she turned to her colleague. "Can I help you find the way back to the public sidewalk?" the blonde woman asked, her voice dripping with a condescending sweetness that didn't reach her eyes. Emma took a breath, trying to ignore the heat rising in her neck. "I'm here to see the branch manager. It's a personal matter of extreme urgency." The second woman, whose name tag read Vivian, let out a short, sharp laugh. "The manager. Honey, Mr. Sterling doesn't see people who don't have a minimum of 8 figures in their liquid assets. The general teller line for basic checking is through those doors and all the way to the back. You can't miss it. It's where the rest of the common folk wait." "I understand how it looks," Emma said, her voice remaining steady despite the insult. "But I assure you this cannot wait. Please, just tell him Emma is here." Vivian leaned forward, the diamonds at her throat catching the light. "Listen closely. This section is reserved for the elite. People who contribute to the economy, not people who look like they're lost on their way to a garage sale. If you don't turn around and leave right now, I'll have security escort you out for loitering." A few yards away, a group of wealthy patrons paused their quiet discussions to watch the spectacle. A man in a silk waistcoat chuckled into his espresso, while his companion whispered loudly about how the bank's standards were slipping. Emma felt the sting of their collective judgment. A cold wall of elitism, designed to make her feel small. She thought of her mother, who always said that a person's value was found in their integrity, not their wardrobe. But in this temple of Mammon, integrity seemed to be a currency no one recognized. The tension escalated when the vice president of operations, a woman named Rebecca, stepped out of a glass-walled office. She moved with a practiced elegance, her heels clicking like a metronome. "Is there a problem here, ladies?" "This woman is insisting on a private audience with the manager," Vivian explained, gesturing dismissively at Emma. "She refuses to accept that she's in the wrong department." Rebecca looked at Emma with a look of profound boredom. "Ma'am, we have a very specific clientele. The difference between our actual members and guests like yourself is as obvious as the difference between fine wine and tap water. You are wasting our time and making our real clients uncomfortable. Security, please remove this individual immediately." A large guard moved toward Emma, his hand reaching for her arm. Emma stepped back, her eyes flashing with a sudden quiet fire. "Do not touch me. I'm leaving, but you should know that your behavior today says far more about your character than my clothes say about mine." "Poverty always has such a loud mouth," Rebecca sneered. Prompting a wave of laughter from the onlookers, Emma turned to leave, her heart heavy with the weight of their cruelty. She had wanted today to be perfect. It was their anniversary, and she had planned to surprise Michael with the news of her pregnancy after his meeting. Now, the joy of the morning had been replaced by a bitter sense of humiliation. She was halfway to the exit when the massive front doors hissed open. A hush instantly fell over the room, a silence born of sudden, intense respect. Michael Hartwell walked in, his presence radiating a natural, terrifying authority. He didn't need a designer suit to look powerful, though his charcoal wool coat was clearly handcrafted. His eyes swept the room, instantly landing on Emma, then moving to the security guard who was still trailing her. Michael's expression shifted from professional focus to a cold, simmering rage. He didn't run. He walked toward her with the deliberate pace of a predator. Every head in the bank turned. The patrons who had been laughing moments ago suddenly found their shoes very interesting. Emma, Michael's voice was low, vibrating with a tone that made Rebecca's blood run cold. "Michael, I just came to bring you the documents," Emma whispered, her voice trembling slightly. Michael took the folder from her, but his eyes never left Rebecca and Vivian. The two women stood frozen, their faces turning a ghostly shade of gray. They knew exactly who Michael Hartwell was. He wasn't just a client. He was the man whose family trusts essentially owned the land the bank was built on. "Mr. Hartwell," Rebecca stammered, her voice an octave higher than usual. We were just assisting this woman. We didn't realize. That is, there was a misunderstanding regarding her identity." Michael stepped closer to the desk, his shadow falling over them. "My wife's identity is not the issue here. Your lack of basic human decency is. I watched from the door as you mocked her. I heard you call her tap water. Is that the official training provided by this institution? Do you only provide respect when you see a black Amex card?" The branch manager, Mr. Sterling, came sprinting out of his office, sweating profusely. "Michael, I am so sorry. I had no idea you were coming in today. Please, let's go to my office and discuss this privately." "There is nothing to discuss in private, James," Michael said, his voice carrying to every corner of the lobby. "I have spent 15 years building a relationship with this bank because I believed it held itself to a higher standard. Today I realized I was wrong. My wife came here out of kindness, and she was treated like a criminal because she wasn't wearing enough jewelry to satisfy your staff's vanity." Michael turned to the crowd of patrons. "And to those of you who found this amusing, I hope you remember this feeling when the market shifts and you find yourselves on the other side of that velvet rope." The room was so silent you could hear the hum of the air conditioning. Michael looked back at James. "I want my accounts closed by the end of the business day. Every cent, the Hartwell Foundation, the venture capital funds, and our personal holdings. Move them all to the credit union across the street." James looked like he was about to faint. "Michael, please, that's hundreds of millions of dollars. We can fix this. We can make amends. You can start by ensuring that these two women never work in the financial sector again," Michael said, pointing a steady finger at Rebecca and Vivian. "If they are still on your payroll in 10 minutes, I will make it my personal mission to ensure this bank's reputation is dismantled in every trade publication from here to London." Rebecca began to cry, her composure completely shattered. "Please, Mr. Hartwell, I have a mortgage. I have a career. You should have thought about that before you decided that dignity was a luxury reserved for the rich." Michael replied coldly. He turned to Emma, his entire demeanor softening instantly. He reached out and tucked a stray lock of hair behind her ear. "Are you all right, my love?" Emma looked at the chaos behind them, the broken careers, the terrified manager, the shamed socialite, and then back at her husband. She realized that while Michael had the power to destroy, his greatest strength was the way he protected what he loved. "I'm ready to go home," she said softly, as they walked out together. Michael held the door for her, ignoring the frantic pleas of the bank staff behind them. He didn't care about the money or the prestige. He cared about the woman who had stayed by his side when he had nothing. The woman who still wore her simple cotton dresses because she didn't need silk to feel beautiful in the weeks that followed. The story of the simple woman at the bank became a legend in the city. The bank suffered a massive blow to its stock price as word of the Hartwell withdrawal spread. Rebecca and Vivian were indeed fired, and they found that, in a world built on reputation, theirs was now worthless. Emma, however, remained exactly who she had always been. She used the story as a catalyst to start a nonprofit aimed at financial literacy for the underprivileged, ensuring that no one would ever feel small in a bank lobby again. She realized that Michael hadn't just defended her that day. He had validated the truth she had always known, that true power isn't found in a bank balance, but in the courage to treat every human being with the same level of respect, regardless of what they happened to be wearing. Standing on the balcony of their home later that evening, Michael held her close as they watched the sunset. He whispered, "You were the most powerful person in that room today. How do you figure that?" Emma asked, leaning into him. "Because you didn't need to change who you were to face them," Michael said. "They were the ones who had to change, and they'll never forget the lesson you taught them." Emma smiled, knowing he was right. Respect wasn't something you bought with a seven-figure account. It was something you carried in your heart, and once you knew your own worth, no one, not even a room full of billionaires, could ever take it away from you.